This video will break down the costs of airplane ownership and help pilots decide if it makes more sense to rent or own an airplane. The first step is to calculate the operating costs. The two primary operating costs of aircraft ownership are fuel and oil changes, engine overhauls, and propeller replacement, along with any other variable maintenance costs. To illustrate how much fuel costs, take the price per gallon times the fuel burn per hour of the aircraft. For example, a Cessna 172 will likely burn between 7 to 9 gallons per hour under normal operating conditions. For this example, we will assume the price of AV gas is $7 and our airplane burns 8 gallons of fuel per hour. So the fuel cost per hour would be $56 in this example. Oil changes will likely run between $4 to $5 per hour, depending on the oil change cost and hours between oil changes, along with average oil consumption and cost per quart of oil. For round numbers' sake, let's assume that the average cost of oil changes is roughly $4 per hour. The fuel cost per hour of $56 plus $4 for oil changes equals $60 per hour to operate the airplane. The next step is to calculate the fixed cost per hour. Fixed costs of owning an airplane include annual insurance premiums, inspection fees, hangar and tie-down fees, along with aviation-related subscriptions such as avionics and navigation applications. In this example, if we assume our total fixed costs per year were $8,000 and we flew 100 hours per year, then our fixed costs would be $80 per hour. The benefits of owning an airplane really come in to play the more hours that a pilot flies. Since fixed costs stay the same, the fixed cost per hour will decrease the more hours the airplane is flown. For example, if you flew 200 hours per year, then your fixed cost per hour is only $40 per hour versus $80 per hour if you flew only 100 hours per year. A pilot must consider and is wise to put aside a separate reserve fund for engine overhaul and propeller replacement. In this example, we will calculate our reserve costs per hour to account for a potential engine overhaul. For example, suppose a complete engine overhaul costs $20,000 and the average time between engine overhauls is 2,000 hours. That means a pilot should account for about $10 per hour in reserve costs. Put another way, it would be wise to set aside $10 for each hour flown to cover a potential engine rebuild. Putting everything together, calculate the total cost per hour. Add $60 of operating costs per hour, plus $80 in fixed costs, plus $10 in reserve costs to get $150 per hour. In this example, assuming a pilot flies 100 hours per year, the average cost of owning a plane like a Cessna 172 would cost $150 per hour. If the pilot flew 200 hours per year, the cost would be $110 per hour. As mentioned previously, the cost per hour of airplane ownership decreases the more hours that a pilot flies. We did not mention the costs of aircraft ownership associated with financing an airplane. If a pilot finances an aircraft, then these costs should be included in total costs per hour. For example, a $100,000 loan at 6 to 8% interest on a 20-year term will cost between $8,000 to $10,000 annually, which would add another $80 to $100 per hour in costs per hour flown, assuming the pilot flew 100 hours per year. Adding the financing costs to our previous examples, a financed general aviation aircraft might cost between $200 to $250 per hour to operate, depending on the loan amount, terms, and hours flown. In closing, it probably only makes sense to buy an airplane if you fly a lot, say more than 200 hours per year. For aircraft ownership to make sense, the cost to own should be less than the cost to rent. Owning an airplane may make sense for a pilot who wants to build hours fast and flies a lot. Some pilots choose to buy their airplane to train in and then sell it once they get their ratings. There is also the pride associated with owning your own airplane, so some pilots will choose to buy an airplane as opposed to renting. Check with your flight school to see their rental rates and then decide if owning makes more sense versus renting your airplane for flight training. Thank you for watching the video. Please like the video and subscribe for more aviation-related educational videos and flight training topics.